I am a great benefactor. So when Song Lin'an told me his lifelong love was his elder half-sister, I promptly sent him to meet his end. Since your elder sister is dead, and you're so deeply devoted, go and die for her. No need to thank me, I love making things happen. I opened my eyes to find myself back on the day of our betrothal. Song Lin'an glared at me, publicly humiliating me on the spot. The Song family only marries truly virtuous women. We'll never let a wicked woman into our home. He broke off the engagement, turning me into the laughingstock of the entire city. And thus, I was branded with the title of wicked woman. Song Lin'an schemed to marry my half-sister. I, however, remained unwanted. On my return visit to my parents' home, Song Lin'an sneered, "Your true colors are known to all now. I wonder who else you can corrupt." I merely smiled without a word. This fool, in my past life, I lived to 80, while he kicked the bucket at 20. I know far more than he ever will. Main text, I was far too kind-hearted. So when I realized my husband's family had chosen the wrong side, I cut ties with them without hesitation. All to save the entire Song clan. I knelt before the new emperor and presented all the evidence of their crimes. The new emperor granted a general pardon, sparing the Song family except for Song Lin'an, who alone was sentenced to death. When I carried the poison to meet Song Lin'an, he sat there, his spirit broken. He stopped pretending. He pulled out the portrait of his half-sister and wept until his eyes were swollen and red. He murmured, "We were never meant to be in this life. Only in the next shall we meet again." My half-sister died yesterday. She perished in childbirth. Song Lin'an had suppressed this love for so long. Even I felt pity for him. TSK, I'm just too soft-hearted. Therefore, I couldn't bring myself to tell Song Lin'an that his aunt, the Empress, had passed away, his cousin, the Crown Prince, was gone, his father-in-law had been assassinated, and his mother-in-law had died from the shock. The throne was ascended by the second prince. Outside the door, palace servants still waited for news. I could only press the red-tipped crane to Song Lin'an's lips, "Your elder sister is dead. Since you're so deeply devoted, go and die for her. No need to thank me, I love making things happen." I never told him about those heartbreaking events. His eyes widened, refusing to close in death. Even as he swallowed the poison, he tried to struggle. But better a quick death than prolonged agony. I was merely sparing him suffering. "Poison, woman," with those final words, Song Lin'an breathed his last. I couldn't help but feel sorrow. Everything I did was for the Song family, and for him. Yet he turned around and called me a poisonous woman. Fortunately, after Song Lin'an's death, the new emperor did not punish the Song family. Months later, the concubine gave birth to a son, and I became a mother without pain. Under my arrangements, the illegitimate child was formally adopted under my name. He passed the Imperial examinations smoothly, entered officialdom, and was raised exceptionally well by me. Under my stewardship, the Song family regained its former glory. I lived to 80, keeping several young lovers along the way, and my days were fairly smooth. Before I died, I was surrounded by dozens of children and grandchildren, all weeping bitterly around me. Perhaps my kindness moved the heavens, allowing me to end my life peacefully. When I opened my eyes again, I met Song Lin'an's furious gaze. He seemed to lose control of his emotions. "The Song family will never allow a wicked woman through our doors. I will only marry a truly virtuous woman." With that, Song Lin'an turned his gaze toward his half-sister. I looked around and only then realized I had been reborn. Reborn on the very day of my betrothal. I will break this childish engagement. Originally, today was supposed to be the day the two families formally sealed the marriage contract. In my previous life, though Song Lin'an had harbored feelings for his half-sister, he had suppressed them due to my status as a legitimate daughter. Now it seemed he too had been reborn. As a virtuous person, I had no reason to cling desperately. I could only grant his wish. Very well. Since young Master Song is determined to break off the engagement, I shall not insist. I wish you the earliest of luck in finding a worthy partner and a house full of children. My blessing was sincere. Yet Song Lin'an lost his composure on the spot. "Shut your mouth. You poisonous woman. Don't think you can still bewitch me. I was utterly dumbfounded. Thus, further words were futile. I covered my mouth with a handkerchief to hide my expression. In this lifetime, without my denunciation of the Song family, sacrificing kin for the greater good, how could the new emperor ever pardon them? It wasn't that I didn't wish to save the Song family, it was that Song Lin'an left me no opportunity. The Song family naturally didn't believe Song Lin'an's one-sided accusations that I was a poisonous woman. Instead, they compensated me with 2 family shops. To ease the Song family's concerns, I had no choice but to accept this compensation. I always genuinely consider others' feelings. Song Lin'an shouldn't directly propose marriage to my half-sister just yet. To avoid public censure. He's not utterly beyond redemption. But this man truly lacks integrity. After leaving the Wei residence, he spread slanderous rumors to tarnish my reputation. He was determined to brand me a wicked woman. My grandmother and father, heartbroken for me, gifted me another estate. My aunt had learned of my half-sister's affair with Song Lin'an. Deeply remorseful toward me, she spent several nights sewing new garments for spring, summer, autumn, and winter. I earnestly advised my aunt, Song Lin'an is fickle and not a suitable match. You must persuade my elder sister. Mainly, the Song family would be uprooted sooner or later. Why should my elder sister, beautiful as a flower, go to her death? My aunt was moved to tears, yet a shadow flickered in her eyes. She almost gritted her teeth. It's hard to see you so concerned for your elder sister. I nodded. It's only right. I couldn't bear to see anyone walking to their death. But no sooner had I persuaded my aunt than she arranged for my elder sister to meet Song Lin'an in secret. My heart ached with grief and fury. In my rage, I devoured a whole braised duck from Spring Sparrow Pavilion and declared to Xiao Tao, I've done all I can. My half-sister refused to heed my warnings. If she dies, she has no one but herself to blame. Xiao Tao nodded in agreement. Miss, with your beauty and kindness, how could you be at fault? It's all their fault. Xiao Tao's words reminded me. Since I possess such a kind heart, I see no reason not to unite that ill-fated couple. Thus, when Song Lin'an met secretly with my half-sister once more, I had someone bring the noble lady from the capital ahead of time. Under the guise of watching a play, I let everyone witness Song Lin'an and my half-sister's affair with their own eyes. Now, the Wei and Song families must discuss marriage once more. Song Lin'an can finally marry the one he loves. My half-sister could finally marry well. Everyone was happy. A living bodhisattva like me is rare in this world. I was almost moved to tears by my own actions. Standing outside the side room door, I dabbed at non-existent tears with my handkerchief, then flashed Song Lin'an and my half-sister a radiant smile. Being moved to tears by my own actions was one thing, but I genuinely wished them both happiness. Yet my half-sister glared at me with a venomous, cursed look. Song Lin'an pointed an accusing finger at me. It's you, you poisonous woman. I was utterly bewildered. He slandered me. My good intentions were taken for granted. Hurt by both of them, I threw myself into the arms of a noble lady and wailed loudly. Some gossip monger started spreading rumors, insisting I'd been tricked by Song Lin'an and my half-sister. The rumor spread like wildfire. Within 3 days, the entire capital knew Song Lin'an had broken off our engagement because he and my half-sister were secretly involved. They became public enemies, everyone calling for their downfall. I couldn't just sit back and wait for disaster. So, weeping, I pleaded for mercy, speaking up for Song Lin'an and my half-sister everywhere I went. It's not my half-sister or Mr. Song's fault. If you must blame someone, blame me alone. It's all my fault. What wrong can truly be found in 2 people who love each other sincerely? Somehow, the label of wicked woman was stripped from me. Among the capital's powerful and influential, many young gentlemen began courting me. They praised my beauty and my kind heart. My reputation improved like never before. Sigh, I couldn't fathom how things had reached this point. Could this be karma rewarding kindness? Song Lin'an was the Empress's own nephew, the Crown Prince's cousin, and the eldest legitimate son of the Song family. He declared he would make my half-sister his legitimate wife. This showed how deeply he valued her. No wonder my half-sister has been weeping constantly since that day. She must be deeply moved. Even if grandmother enforces family discipline and refuses to provide a dowry, she insists on marrying him. This makes it even harder for me to warn her about the misfortune awaiting the Song family. To do so would make me seem like I'm breaking up a loving couple. Besides, what does losing one's life matter? What mattered most to Song Lin'an and my half-sister was only the true love between them. True love reigns supreme. Long live true love. One day, I discovered my stepmother had embezzled funds from the kitchen's expenses. I ordered her summoned. To my surprise, she confessed and grew defiant. Gone was her meekness, she no longer feigned kindness. These people, they're all fake kindness. Unlike me, who's genuinely good. The concubine stood with her chest thrust out, her almond eyes looking down on me. My daughter is about to marry into the Song family, the Duke's household. The Wei family refused to provide a dowry, so I had to scrape together what I could. Don't push your luck. In the future. My daughter and son-in-law won't let you off the hook. I sighed. The stepmother was my mother's dowry maid, yet she had climbed into father's bed before mother was even pregnant. She was anything but kind. I shook my head helplessly, exasperated by her stubborn refusal to see reason. I lectured her earnestly, "Stepmother, in life, excessive arrogance will only destroy you. How could I stand by and watch you willingly ruin yourself?" Her body swayed, and her speech became slurred. See? I simply couldn't keep giving her a friendly face. Otherwise, she'd never grasp her true place in the household. I waved my hand lightly. A concubine showing disrespect to the legitimate daughter, this blurs the lines between legitimate and illegitimate. Now, the Wei household is under my command. Her rudeness toward the head of the household shows she knows nothing of propriety. Servants, strike her face. The concubine was held down as the matron stepped forward to begin the beating. I stood before her, stretching lazily. No need to thank me, concubine. Rest assured, I'll train you properly. I'll handle everything, no mistakes will be made. Beaten into a pig's head, the concubine never glared at me again, nor raised her voice. That's more like it. I've stripped away every thorn from her body. Legitimate is legitimate, concubine born is concubine born, let there be no overstepping. Before the wedding, my half-sister suddenly began retching uncontrollably. My heart leapt into my throat. In my past life, she had died in childbirth. Over the past decade, Auntie had practically starved her into a Yangzhou emaciated beauty, leaving her frame painfully thin. Men certainly favored delicate beauties like my half-sister. But such delicate beauties easily risked losing both mother and child. 3 of my cousins in the Wei family remained unmarried. My half-sister had already brought shame upon the Wei daughters. I feared her unwed pregnancy would cost her life, yet I also worried for my cousin's prospects. After much deliberation, the only solution was to terminate her pregnancy. I went to see my half-sister myself. She held a hairpin in her hand. Clearly aware of her pregnancy, she pressed the pin against her throat with one hand while cradling her belly with the other. Tears streaked her face. "If you dare harm my child, I'll die right here. TSK. Is she willing to throw her life away? But I'm doing this for her sake." I spoke earnestly, "Sister, bearing children before 20 is harmful to a woman's health. Besides, you're so delicate. What if you face complications during childbirth? Though you stole my betrothal, I don't want you to die." After speaking, I added sincerely, "Sister, I truly mean this for your own good. When trouble strikes the Song household, I can report it first and trade my merits for my half-sister's life. But if she dies in childbirth, I'll be powerless." Her pale face twisted with resentment. "You just hate me. That's it. You hurt our mother, and now you're coming after me. Why? We're both father's daughters, why must you oppress me at every turn?" I was rendered speechless. I couldn't utter a single word about how she would die in childbirth. I tried my best. Sigh, my heart is weary. Any relationship, once all passion is exhausted, will inevitably retreat. I poured the abortion potion into the potted plant and sighed, "Sister, take good care of yourself. No matter what, you are still my elder sister. In time, I will collect her remains." As for my 3 cousins, those who once mocked me as an unmarriageable shrew, they too shall remain unwed now. After all, the reputation of the Wei family's daughters has been tarnished by my half-sister. I, the legitimate daughter of the main branch, sought only to save them. Yet no one appreciated my efforts. Kind-hearted souls always get betrayed. Never mind, never mind. Upon learning his half-sister was pregnant, Song Lin'an hastened the wedding. To save her face, he personally funded her dowry. Alas, the dowry scale remained modest. Few guests attended the wedding banquet. Many influential families collectively fell ill, sending only servants to deliver congratulatory gifts. The Song family felt utterly humiliated. Upon the wedding procession's return, we learned my half-sister faced harsh treatment from the matrons the moment she entered her new home. Pregnant, she was forced to leap over 3 fire pits, nearly scorching her skirt. I couldn't help but worry for her plight. My mother-in-law from my past life was no pushover. Only a woman like me could keep her in check. My half-sister had truly jumped from the frying pan into the fire. True love, how it misleads people. After the grand wedding, Song Lin'an finally got his wish. He also made up for the regrets of his past life. I was genuinely happy for him. After all, his good days were numbered. I am a magnanimous person, holding no grudges, especially against someone doomed to die within years. Yet on the day he brought my half-sister back for the post-wedding visit, he met me with a scowl. His face radiated joy, but his eyes seemed to carry the desolation and loneliness of the northern wilderness. I offered a smile. "Brother-in-law, have you been sleeping poorly these past few days?" Song Lin'an snapped like a cat's tail had been stepped on. "Wei Yan. Others may not know your true colors, but I see them clearly. Stop pretending to be virtuous in front of me." Only then did it dawn on me, Song Lin'an had been impeached by the censor, dragging the crown prince down with him. These past days hadn't been kind to him. I stammered awkwardly, "Brother-in-law, eat when you should eat, drink when you should drink. There's no tomorrow to linger over." Song Lin'an's eyes widened, his nostrils flared, and he stormed off, flinging his sleeves behind him. Not before muttering, "Venomous woman." Heaven knows, what venom was I spewing? to80 herself wasn't as wronged as I felt. Song Lin'an began his relentless campaign of revenge. Unable to touch me directly, he spread slanderous rumors to tarnish my reputation. But it didn't matter. I've always been magnanimous. Right now, there are more important matters demanding my attention. Though the second prince emerged victorious in the succession struggle, his path was fraught with hardship. Recently, the border faced urgent threats. The second prince led 50,000 troops to defend the frontier to this day. The empress and crown prince, wary of the second prince, schemed in secret to cut off timely supplies of grain and fodder. Now, the second prince finds himself in dire straits. Coincidentally, though I lack grand ambitions, I possess a knack for commerce. While I cannot directly access the Wei family's treasury, I can support the second prince with my personal savings. In short, I'll do him a favor now, so I may call it in later. Before leaving the capital, I went to my grandmother and father to plead my case tearfully. First my marriage was stolen, then my reputation ruined. Now I only wish to retreat to the estate for peace. I beg your permission, grandmother and father. My tears flowed freely. Grandmother and father were moved. Father's anger then fell upon the concubine, and he struck her again. "Look at the fine daughter you've raised. Seducing her own sister's fiancé. Now she's married well, but how are the other Wei daughters supposed to live?" The concubine was beaten into silence. With sufficient justification, I smoothly departed the capital city. 3 days later, managers from various shops came to see me, their demeanor notably respectful. After all, I had been generous with my payments. "Master, all supplies are prepared. Medicinal herbs, rice, oil, dried meat, cotton garments. Everything you requested is ready." I felt no urgency to rush to the frontier. For when heaven bestows a great mission upon a man, it must first torment his spirit and exhaust his body. Since the second prince was heaven's chosen one, he deserved to endure some hardship. My deliberate delay served to test his resolve. Thus, when the second prince was pushed to the brink of death, on the verge of meeting his end, I descended like a rainbow cloud from the heavens. Crouching down, I cradled his head and smiled gently. Your Highness, this servant, Wei Yan, has come to rescue you. My personal guards, masters of their craft, escorted the second prince back to our camp, preserving his eyebrow. In my past life, enemy blades had slashed his left eyebrow, nearly blinding him. With or without me, the second prince would have escaped. But with me, he found warmth. Wei Yan. Even in unconsciousness, he murmured my name. Truly the ultimate victor, the second prince, like me, possessed a kind heart and knew gratitude. When he awoke, I had just brought him chicken congee. His sharp, dark eyes softened with tenderness. In moments of greatest peril, people often reveal their vulnerable side. My heart ached for him, so I personally fed him the porridge. Your Highness, my merchant caravan happened to pass through a nearby town. Hearing of your desperate struggle against the enemy forces, I came to lend my support. You must recover fully, Your Highness, before crushing the enemy once and for all. At this point, I furrowed my brow in thought before adding, there is something I'm unsure whether I should say or not. The second prince's reputation wasn't particularly good either. Rumors described him as violent, murderous, and unpredictable. But at this moment, his eyes were filled with tenderness, and his lips still held traces of congee. Miss Wei, if you have something to say, speak freely. I lied, claiming I had overheard a conversation between Song Lin'an and the crown prince. I revealed how the court was withholding grain supplies. I wasn't some tattletale. I did it purely to prevent the Song family from making another grave mistake. Besides, as the victim, the second prince deserved to know. A flash of murderous intent flickered in the second prince's eyes. The next moment, I grasped the second prince's hand. But Your Highness need not worry. This humble servant can provide supplies to aid you in winning this battle. With that, I personally wiped the rice porridge from the corner of his lips. A flush finally returned to the second prince's pallid face. I did not linger long at the military camp. Once the second prince could rest, I took my leave. I waved goodbye, leaving behind a large pile of supplies, and departed with my attendants. Long after the carriage had rolled away, I lifted the curtain and caught sight of the second prince still standing in the distance, watching us go. In my past life, I possessed wealth rivaling a nation. The reason the emperor had always been quite tolerant of me was that I contributed half my annual earnings to the treasury. Thinking of it this way, in both my past and present lives, I had been the second prince's financial backer. The border affairs were settled. Next, I ordered my attendants to head toward a nearby town. Indeed, this journey wasn't solely for the second prince. I found a coffin shop and waited quietly. Come dusk, a gaunt youth was beaten out. The shopkeeper kicked and punched him, shouting, "You good-for-nothing brat. If it weren't for your mother, I'd have beaten you to death long ago. How dare you pocket the difference? I'm your stepfather, your master." Cornered against the wall, the youth cowered in a ball, his body covered in bruises. Xiao Tao looked puzzled and asked, "Miss, we've been lurking here all day just for him?" I held the hot water bottle in my arms, smiling silently. Yes. It was for him. Xiaosua was my fierce rival in my past life. He was even better at making money than I was. Unfortunately, his ambition was too great. After rising to power, he failed to hide his sharp edges, arousing the emperor's suspicion. In the end, his head was severed. He was a great talent, and I valued talent. The guards brought him before me. The youth's dark eyes stared fixedly at the pastries before me. Before feeding him, I painted him a grand vision. Xiaosua, stepson of the coffin shop proprietor. Your mother already has a young son, she won't care about your survival. But you're skilled in trade. You can fully support yourself. You shouldn't stay at the coffin shop, nor should you remain in this bitterly cold land. You should go out into the wider world and become the person you want to be. Xiaosua, follow me from now on, and I'll make you rise to great heights. The only condition is that you must be loyal to me. I will monopolize the Daong trade routes. Xiaosua was never meant to be my fierce rival in this life, he could only be a fierce general under my command. Wealth as vast as the heavens is also a calamity. Making him my subordinate is also a way to protect him. Let me alone bear the dangers of being the wealthiest man. I truly am a living bodhisattva. This year, Xiaozhua possessed neither vast fortunes nor extraordinary abilities. Starving and freezing, he had no choice but to sign a contract selling himself into servitude, becoming utterly my loyal dog. On the journey back to the capital with Xiaozhua, I had men search every nook and cranny, digging deep into the beggars' slums outside the city walls. There, they found a girl named Wenryu. Xiaozhua had been by my side for nearly a month. The youth was remarkably sharp, his attire and speech transformed beyond recognition. Seeing how much I cared for Wenryu, he even grew jealous. "Master, why do you care so much about that girl? What else could it be?" Wenryu, the long-lost true heiress of the Prime Minister's household, destined to become the most favored consort in the Imperial harem. The son she bore would ascend as the next crown prince. Naturally, I had to rescue her first. I smiled, gently stroking the youth's hair bun with unexpected tenderness. Because I have a kind heart. I cannot bear to see others suffer. When Ryu was found, I even sent silver to the beggar's settlement myself. When Ryu smiled, her eyes sparkling brightly, a smile that melted hearts. No wonder she would become the favored consort. I treated her gently, letting her call me sister. "My dear girl, you've suffered. From now on, your sister will protect you." The concubine in the Prime Minister's mansion had swapped the swaddled babies, abandoning her, the true heiress, to a beggar's den outside the city. It was utterly heartless. I simply couldn't stand such cruelty. After changing into fresh clothes and being groomed, when Ryu did possess a certain air of a noble lady. Xiaozhua grew strangely restless. "If she can call you sister, why must I address you as master?" This fellow dares to push his luck. In my past life, he was my fierce rival. This lifetime, I must keep him firmly beneath me. Should he ever rise in power, his ultimate fate would be summed up in one word: death. I'm saving him, you know. I slapped Xiaozhua across the face. "What? Is it too much to ask you to call me master?" Xiaozhua's face was slapped askew, yet the youth showed no anger. Instead, he flicked his tongue against his palate and smiled, raising his eyebrows slightly. "My lady strikes well. I overstepped. What a thorn in the side. Only a saint like me would take him in." Back in the capital, my confidant soon reported. Only then did I learn that Song Lin'an, drawing on memories from my past life, had earned several merits. At last, he could hold his head high once more. Additionally, Lady Song, seeking to suppress her elder half-sister, had taken a concubine for Song Lin'an. That concubine was the woman who bore my son in my previous life. In that past existence, I lived to 80, and she served by my side until that age. This lifetime, without my protection in the Song household, what will become of her? Even if that child is born, it won't meet a good end. I must prevent this tragedy. So, I ordered men to hijack the concubine's wedding palanquin. This concubine was the Tofu Beauty. She was chosen by Lady Song precisely because of her striking beauty and curvaceous figure. The Tofu Beauty had a beloved, a young carpenter. In my past life, the young carpenter never married, growing old as a master carpenter. He worked at the Song residence his entire life, guarding the Tofu Beauty. What a love that moved heaven and earth. I must bring them together. When the Tofu Beauty and the young carpenter met again, they embraced and wept bitterly. I urged them, "The hour is late. Board the boat and head south at once. If you linger, the Song family will capture you. This silver will suffice for your settlement in Jiangnan." The Tofu Beauty's family had sold her for glory. She could never return to her birth home. Both knelt before me, overflowing with gratitude. "Benefactor, should we live to see another life, we shall serve you faithfully." "That won't be necessary. I do good deeds without expecting anything in return." Only after watching the Tofu Beauty and the young carpenter board the boat and depart did I feel at ease. I turned to Xiaozhua and Wenryu beside me and said, "Did you see that? One must do good in this world. Only the kind-hearted receive good fortune." The two nodded obediently. "Sister, I understand. Master, I understand too." "Very good. Another day of accumulating merit. Half a month later, I ventured to the eastern part of the city. In an alley, I witnessed someone forcing the illegitimate son of the general's household to crawl beneath his legs in humiliation. An illegitimate child dares claim lineage to the general's house? Ha! Crawl beneath this young master's legs, and I'll spare you. The youth was none other than the war god of my past life, Luo Zhan, who would become the new emperor's right-hand man. I did not intervene immediately. Only when Luo Zhan was about to crawl beneath the legs did I speak up to stop him. I wanted him to remember the shame of this moment. Otherwise, how could he truly grow? Stop! I waved for the guards to intervene, pulling Luo Zhan out as he was halfway through crawling beneath my legs. Several spoiled brats tried to stir trouble again. I ordered directly, beat them to a pulp. Beat them until they can't get back up. Only a proper lesson would teach them a lasting lesson. Luo Zhan was brought before me. I wiped his face with a handkerchief. Luo Zhan, is it? If the general's residence cannot accommodate you, then stay by my side. The youth swallowed hard, his eyes welling up. What a good boy. One day, he would command vast armies. With his protection, my commercial empire would expand boundlessly. I could almost see mountains of gold and silver smiling at me. When Song Lin'an's concubine eloped with another man, my half-sister thought she'd gained the upper hand. Little did she know it was all thanks to me. That day, when my half-sister returned to her parents' home, she and her mother joined forces to mock me. I kept silent, giving them ample opportunity to berate me. After all, such chances were rare. Though the second daughter is legitimate, her reputation is ruined. She'll struggle to find a husband. I hear the second sister brought home 3 beggars. Since when did she take a liking to scavenging? I watched my stepmother and half-sister quietly. How arrogant! How could anyone be so vile? When the chancellor's wife arrived, my stepmother and half-sister were still chattering away. The chancellor's wife rushed over, glanced at Wenryu behind me, then stepped forward and slapped my stepmother across the face. My own flesh and blood daughter. How dare you call her a beggar? Wenryu and the chancellor's wife were cut from the same cloth. The chancellor's wife swept Wenryu into her arms. Earlier today, I had secretly sent a letter to the chancellor's wife. Everything was laid out clearly within its pages. Now, my aunt and half-sister stood frozen in shock. After weeping, the chancellor's wife unleashed a torrent of curses upon the concubines of the chancellor's household. That vile woman, Aunt Zhou. She dared to swap my daughter for hers. I'll have her sold into slavery, neither living nor dying. Seeing my own concubine trembling, I kindly asked, Auntie, what are you afraid of? You didn't swap the swaddled babies. My concubine staggered, staring at me as if I were a monster. After this incident, I became the benefactor of the chancellor's household. The chancellor's wife even adopted me as her foster daughter. Though when Ryu returned to the chancellor's residence, she still visited me often, addressing me as sister with every word. I was utterly content. After all, she would become the most revered Empress Dowager decades later. In the days that followed, I continued secretly supplying provisions to the second prince. He wrote back, his letters brimming with gratitude for my assistance. I only replied that he need not thank me. Only by refusing any reward would he give more. Of course, the main reason I didn't want repayment was simply because I was kind. Otherwise? Within half a year, I opened a medical clinic, a martial arts academy, and an inn. I recruited talented individuals, expanding my business empire further. Gradually, people forgot I was the woman whose betrothal to Song Lin'an had been annulled. The day of my half-sister's delivery arrived. Her pelvis was narrow, making childbirth difficult. I arrived with a physician, only to be shut out. Song Lin'an himself blocked my way. Now at the height of his glory, he stood on the stone steps, looking down his nose at me. I reminded him, brother-in-law, I can see your nose hairs. How could this once refined gentleman neglect his decorum so completely? Especially as a court favorite. Song Lin'an stomped his foot and cursed me, you venomous woman. What new trouble are you stirring up? The crowd of passers-by grew steadily larger. With sincere devotion, I pleaded, "My elder sister is in labor today. I specially brought a physician to help her deliver her son safely. Why are you blocking me, brother-in-law?" At these words, Song Lin'an reacted as if hearing the most absurd joke. How could a man possibly examine a woman in childbirth? You're utterly ridiculous. Soon, a servant rushed to announce, "Your Highness. It's terrible. The young mistress is hemorrhaging." I knew this would happen. I insisted on entering, but Song Lin'an still blocked me. Every woman endures hardship during childbirth. She'll be fine soon. Don't make such a fuss. I was stunned. I couldn't understand. I was frantic. My half-sister was the woman he'd longed for in his past life. How could he let her die? The crowd of onlookers grew thicker. Soon after, an old woman stumbled over, gasping, "Your Highness. It's terrible. The young mistress. She's gone. The child is lost too." I wept bitterly, pointing at Song Lin'an and screaming, "My poor elder sister. You died so horribly. It was my brother-in-law who wouldn't let me save you. Brother-in-law. You are the true monster." The crowd seethed with fury, some hurling rotten vegetable scraps at Song Lin'an. He stood frozen like a great, dumb goose, muttering, "How could this happen? It shouldn't be like this." Song Lin'an turned and stumbled back to the mansion. I wailed all the way. That day, the entire city knew Song Lin'an had killed the young lady of the Wei family. Upon hearing the news, my stepmother fainted. When she awoke, she had become a simpleton, clutching a pillow and calling out my darling. "Little darling, strive to marry well. A woman must strive to climb high." I could only be a concubine, but my little darling must become the legitimate wife of a noble house. I glanced at my stepmother, waved my hand, and had her locked away. It was all her fault. When my mother gave birth, she barged into the delivery room with her meddling, killing both my mother and my younger brother. She also corrupted my half-sister. Even with all my strength, I couldn't save my half-sister. But looking on the bright side, my half-sister died young and didn't have to endure the Song family's massacre. In a way, that was a kind of luck. The second prince returned triumphantly to the capital. A year earlier than in my previous life. He is about to formally commence the struggle for the throne. We met privately. His deep, dark eyes seemed to glow. I handed him the brocade box filled with silver notes directly. "Your Highness, I know you need silver now. I wish to offer my modest contribution." Perhaps my generosity was too overt, for the second prince misinterpreted my gesture. Seizing my hand, his expression brimming with emotion, he declared, "Since my mother's death, no one has treated me with such kindness. Wei Yan. Ah Yan, I swear I will never betray your trust in this lifetime. And those who ever wronged you, I will not spare a single one." I was stunned and immediately pulled my hand away. When Ryu was the second prince's true love in this life. I wanted to be his sister-in-law, yet he was setting his sights on me? In the future, this man before me would have 3 palaces and 6 courts. The imperial harem truly wasn't suited for a kind-hearted woman like me. I politely declined the second prince's affection. "Your Highness has misunderstood. I merely couldn't bear to see you overlooked and admire your character. I've never harbored any other intentions toward you. Besides, my reputation is poor. It would be best for your Highness to avoid any appearance of impropriety." The second prince grasped my hand once more. His piercing, dark eyes now brimmed with tenderness. "Ian, I understand. You've been thinking only of me. How could I ever betray your trust? Wait for me. Soon, I'll make sure no one in the realm dares utter a single word against you." Huh? He truly misunderstood. The second prince took the banknotes and left me the jade pendant he carried. He worked tirelessly and fought hard, and within just a few months, he had the crown prince's faction reeling. Everything that should have happened in my past life had accelerated. Half a year later, the empress and the crown prince fell from power. The Song family of the duke's mansion naturally faced utter ruin. The second prince believed I hated Song Lin'an. He beat him half to death and invited me to witness it. "Yenner, this man is unworthy. He made you waste your devotion. He mistook a fish's eye for a pearl. He deserves this fate. When I saw Song Lin'an, he was barely recognizable. I stepped closer. Having been husband and wife in a past life, I wished to offer him end-of-life care. Song Lin'an struggled to open his eyes. A flicker of clarity suddenly pierced his clouded gaze. His voice was barely a whisper. You've returned too? I shrugged. I always said I'm beautiful and kind-hearted, incapable of harming anyone. You just wouldn't listen. Lowering my voice to a whisper audible only to us, I added, in our past life, sacrificing yourself for the entire Song family was a noble death. You even died for your elder sister's sake. What a splendid thing. Ah, but now look at this mess. The entire Song household couldn't be saved. Just look at what you've done. TSK Song Lin'an spat out a mouthful of fresh blood. Luckily, I dodged in time. The entire Song family was executed. Not a single one was spared. Without me, it just wouldn't work. The new emperor ascended the throne. As the true daughter of the prime minister's household, Ryu was the most qualified candidate to be crowned empress. The prime minister's household had contributed greatly to the emperor's rise to power. The prime minister also wished to send his daughter to the palace. But because everything happening in this life was occurring 3 years earlier than in her previous life, when Ryu was only 13 this year, not yet of age. The new emperor clearly had no interest in her either. A deeply ominous foreboding gripped my heart. Sure enough, the new emperor summoned me to the palace. He sought my counsel, meeting me privately in the Imperial garden. He was already 25, yet his harem remained empty. Court officials repeatedly urged him to expand his imperial concubines. In my past life, he was a shrewd ruler. Though his harem was vast, it never stirred significant turmoil. He fathered over 10 princes and several princesses, a rather prolific emperor. Before the new emperor could speak, I smiled first and said, "Your Majesty, the flowers in this imperial garden are truly beautiful. Yet, they are all meticulously pruned, lacking that wild charm. This humble subject prefers the unrestrained beauty of wildflowers." The new emperor frowned. He rubbed the signet ring on his thumb, his meaning clear. I am now the emperor, the ruler of all under heaven. I only wish to fulfill my own desires. I hastened to agree. But forced fruit is never sweet, its bitterness only makes life more bitter. Would it not be better for each to find their own joy? I felt helpless too. Though I covet wealth and beauty, entering the palace would surely terrify the other consorts. With my beauty and kindness, they'd only feel ashamed of themselves. I wouldn't want to turn the harem into a bloodbath. The new emperor, unwilling to concede, tried to speak further. I seized his hand, my gaze intense. Your Majesty, romantic bonds may wither with time, but the bond between kindred spirits endures forever. This humble subject regards your Majesty as my lifelong confidant and shall devote every ounce of my strength to your grand ambitions. I produced a map and presented my commercial expansion plans to the emperor. Your Majesty, observe, wherever my caravans travel, the banners of Daong shall fly. As long as I am present, the imperial treasury shall never run dry, and the border garrisons shall never lack silver. The emperor and I are kindred spirits. I shall remain unseen, the woman behind his Majesty, serving as his steadfast support. Kindred spirits cannot share a bed. Besides, with so many young lords awaiting my rescue outside, how could I ever stay cooped up in the harem? A woman as magnificent as I should be the pillar of strength for countless young men. The emperor's eyes glistened with tears. I suspect he was moved by my words. 13. Epilogue. The new emperor released me from the palace. The Wei family, with its strong matriarchal influence, shifted toward commerce after my father retired. Within 3 years, I became the head of the Wei family and the foremost imperial merchant. At 16, when Ryu still entered the palace. Unlike her past life, the emperor did not expand his harem. Besides Empress Wen, there were only 4 consorts. When Ryu also avoided fierce palace intrigues, ascending directly to empress. Yet on the day of the imperial wedding, I was summoned to the palace. The emperor and empress beamed at me, making me feel utterly uncomfortable. Empress Wen, my sister has just returned from the western regions, looking rather gaunt. Stay in the palace a few more days. The Empress speaks wisely. I have missed you greatly. Me. 3 people in the bridal chamber seemed rather awkward. Wouldn't the wedding bed feel a bit cramped? Fortunately, the newly acclaimed war god Luo Zhan arrived at the palace just in time. True to his roots as the adopted son of the general's household I raised, he now moved with the cunning of a wolf. A single glance from me, and he understood everything. Your Majesty, Empress, Luo Zhan has urgent matters to discuss with the head of the Wei family. It concerns the western frontier and cannot wait. In the end, Luo Zhan successfully escorted me out of the palace. Just as we boarded the carriage, Luo Zhan suddenly seized my wrist. Sister, you mustn't enter the palace casually in the future. You know full well the Emperor's intentions. I wrenched my wrist free and glared at him. I know. Luo Zhan pressed his lips together, his hawk-like eyes fixed on me. Sister, Xiaozhua is 18 now. At his age, he's bound to have many thoughts. You must be wary. Luo Zhan's nagging gave me a headache. The carriage finally reached the gates of the Wei residence. Xiaozua's deep, ominous voice echoed, "Young General Luo, leave the master to me. You may return." Just as I stepped down from the carriage, Luo Zhan swept me into his arms. Xiaozhua immediately lunged forward to seize me. Xiaozhua demanded, "Young General Luo, hand over the family head." Luo Zhan whistled dismissively. Escorting sister into the mansion is just as good. I felt a bit weary. It felt like returning to a past life, where the men by my side had vied for my attention and fought over jealousy for decades. What can I say? It's all because I'm too beautiful and kind-hearted. The story ends here. Thank you all for your company. See you in the next chapter.